Welcome to Olympian Water Testing, giving you the best in water analysis. Today we are looking at Elsevier, where reducing lead exposure in school water, evidence from remediation efforts in New York City public schools. What is going on here? So after the Flint water crisis, a lot of states passed legislation requiring schools to measure and remediate lead in school drinking water, which they should have done actually before. But it's good that they're doing this now, at least, and bringing some awareness. And in the study, they present new evidence on the level and distribution of lead of drinking water by examining the case of New York City, which tested water from every public school fixture. And we know about lead. It's a potent neurotoxin that can affect virtually every organ system in the body and disrupt young children's development, even at low levels of exposure. There's no safe amount of lead. And following the Flint water crisis, lead in drinking water has gained increased attention as a pressing public health issue. If you remember Flint, they were unable to drink the water. They couldn't sometimes even use it for daily uses, so they actually had to get tons and tons of bottled water. Well, that's a temporary fix that's not sustainable. So in the study, they examined the case of New York City, the largest school district in the country, during 2016 to 2017. New York City tested for lead in every fixture across all public schools in the city. All fixtures that tested about 15 parts per billion, ppb, were immediately taken out of service, and the buildings with at least one elevated fixture initiated weekly flushing protocols. So they flush the water. Now that doesn't fix the problem per se. While it can push the water around, that doesn't necessarily fix the source from where the lead's coming. And fixtures more than 5 years old were replaced with any immediate piping from fixture to wall, and fixtures less than 5 years old were targeted for maintenance. So what do they find in the data? What was the lead exposure in the conclusion? Well, they leveraged fixture-level data from 2 rounds of lead testing conducted for all public schools in New York City between November 16 and April 2017. Again, 1/3 of schools began between August 2018 and February 2019, and hereafter they refer to these as the 2016-2018 samples. Between these 2 rounds of testing, the city remediated fixtures that tested over 15 parts per billion. Buildings were only scheduled for retesting when all fixtures that initially tested for over 15 parts per billion had been remediated. And the lead exposure prior to remediation showed, the parts 15 and 30 parts per billion. On average, Black Hispanic children that attended were 8.9 and 7.4% of fixtures, respectively, tested above this threshold. White and Asian children both attended sites where it was 8%. So, taking a look at the conclusion, as school infrastructure ages throughout the country, more localities will be confronted, and this really needs to be done all throughout the United States and everywhere. If you want to keep children safe, you have to test water in school. Recent crises in New Jersey, Washington, D.C., and Mississippi have emphasized that Flint is not an isolated incident as well. At the same time, climate change is expected to cause increasingly warmer waters, higher seasonal variability in precipitation, and more extreme weather events. You can see all of the information here. What this really comes down to is, it's good that awareness is being made after the Flint water crisis, but it shouldn't necessarily take a crisis to have water tested and water looked at, because we use it every day. It's our most ubiquitous resource. That's why it's always a good idea to have your water periodically tested for any levels of lead.